No, okay, so let's proceed. So Ieva Alksne and Ieva Astahovska, they will present in different presentations, but nonetheless kind of connected. Ieva Alksne is a conservator and a restorer in painting with a research interest in contemporary and kinetic art conservation. And she worked on the restoration of pieces by Valdis Celms, together with Ieva Astahovska, who is a curator and who works at the Latvian Centre of Contemporary Art, and who is the curator of the exhibition Archaeology of Kinetics by Valdis Celms, who, by the way, is in the room. Hello, Valdis. Thank you for honoring us. Okay, so Ieva Alksne or Ieva Astahovska, who wants to start? You decide. Great.
Hello, everyone. Yes, like just technical explanation about our presentation. The title is reviving the lost moment of six ways how to return to the Soviet kinetics. And together with other Ieva, we will shortly introduce this rather large subject from two different perspectives. So in both cases it's very personal, but in my case personal and curatorial and researchers, and in other Ieva's case it's restorers and conservators study of this rather complex trajectory of dealing with contemporary art history of the Soviet period, and choosing the specific segment, which is kinetic art, which was extremely interesting and rather exceptional phenomena, how formal, conceptual, and also technological boundaries of art were widened in Latvian Soviet period art. And my interest and research started when in 2008, when Latvian Centre for Contemporary Art implemented extensive research project which was focusing on legacy of the Soviet period non-chrestomatized art, and it included also art which was in a way forgotten or remained outside of the established art history of Latvia. And strangely enough, it was also a case of the kinetic art, although it didn't belong to the so-called non-official or non-conformist art practices, but also in a way being art which was in between different boundaries. It somehow was forgotten and lost into oblivion conceptually, but as you will see, also due to technical material-based reasons. And so there was this extensive research, but together with the research, the topical question became also whether it's possible to bring this partly lost history in the exhibitions and revive it through the physical artworks. And at the very beginning, it was clear that it's extremely difficult because very few works have remained. But still, as you see from the title, they appeared quite many ways how this lost kinetic artworks could be revived. And I would like to start with the first one, which is archival studies of lost kinetics, which was the most common or essential part of the research and also curatorial work, especially because when these artworks were made, quite often these were technologically very experimental, also large-scale works, which also appeared in some of the exhibitions, but they were soon dismantled after the exhibition. They were dismantled, and in that way kind of finished their existence. Or there were also cases when kinetic art appeared in the either interior or interiors or of the modern buildings, or also in an urban space, but also again because of these rather technical solutions, usually they didn't, the work or the functionality, which quite often is essential for the kinetic art, didn't last long, and the owners or the keepers of the venues where the venues were installed didn't pay the necessary attention how these, and as a result, most of these works existed very short time. And this, it's kind of this first, most typical story of the kinetic art in Latvia, I want to exemplify with Andrus Kromiņš work. And Andrus Kromiņš now is very little known artist, although his work was extremely interesting, and he was one of 3 authors of the legendary kinetic art exhibition titled Form Color Dynamics, which took place in St. Peter's Church in 1978. And in difference from the other colleagues, such as Valdis Celms and Artūrs Riņķis, Andrus Kromiņš works exist only as archives. And here we see one of the most complicated or complex work of that exhibition. Its title was Celebrations, and here we can see that Andrus Kromiņš was in a way unique artist in Latvian kinetic art history, but I would say also that very exceptional in international kinetic art history. He was experimenting a lot with so-called liquid kinetics, or using the water or other liquids, how the movement could be created. And in this case, his work, which was functioning as a fountain, and interestingly enough, few years after this showing in the exhibition, it was also he had a he did it as also as as object in one of the squares of Riga. But this strange effect that we look on the kind of the globe or sphere or ball whose material is water, and the trick or the way how he managed to do it is that he added in Latvian it's sārmi, it's I forgot that alkali probably is the term to the water. It became extremely soft and didn't kind of burst, creating this particular effect. And so there were also many other examples exactly with this possibilities of the liquid, and we see that it's a very interesting example technologically, and maybe it's important to mention that also here that the light under the water, which created kind of sparkling illusionary effect. But at the end, we have only these photo documentations, and its representation in this contemporary art history is rather limited. Moving to the next way, preservation of fragile kinetics in static form, which is also quite a typical story about kinetic art history, because it's a classical problem. On one hand, very positive that these are works which still have remained today, but they have lost the essential quality, which is this movement, which is like kinetic art can't exist without movement, as we know. And so they rather remain as evidence of particular time, but in a way they also like objects from the cabinet of curiosities, where we can just imagine how they functioned originally. And this way I want to, already you see that the images from artist Baušķinieks works, and it's also a very interesting story that Baušķinieks is known as painter, and a rather classical painter, not contemporary. And also these works were created as his hobby. He was interested in radio engineering, and after his exceptional journey to USA at the beginning of 70s, he started to create these different objects which were never shown in the exhibitions, but were sometimes shown as very kind of private performances to his guests at his home. And these were both objects which were who moved moved by hand, or also using the electricity. And it's interesting that in Artist's Archive is also a small notebook called Kineticism and its Programs, where he explains, it's kind of rather short and not so explicit, but still notes of these programs. There were basically he called these objects kinetic machines, like big machine and the small machine. And for each machine, he had several of these programs. Also, the programs also had titles, and the titles were chosen from this associative image which work was creating. And when we worked with this material, we wanted also to show it in the exhibitions, as this was a totally unknown part of this artist's creative work. But soon we realized that showing in the exhibitions and trying to still also have the movement of the motion, we actually failed, but not just failed, but it turned that it's can be very traumatizing to the artwork itself, and it's showing in full spectrum that's not possible. But on the other hand, very recently these works have been bought for the collection of Latvian Contemporary Art Museum. This actually brings new challenges for the contemporary art restorers, whether there are possibilities how these works could, from these objects from the cabinet of curiosities, revive their full functionality. The third way, reconstruction, which is also most common way with this partly lost contemporary art. And also yesterday in Juris Boyko exhibition, we saw that it is possible to revive artworks which are in fact lost. And in this way, I wanted to would like to exemplify this work of Māris Ārgalis. On one hand, this is a deviation from kinetic art, because these were one of the first installations and very important works of contemporary history, but it's not kind of classical kinetic art. But as you see from some of the slides, movement was essential part of this work. So it was movement of the spectators, and as also friends and colleagues of Māris Ārgalis tell, also the movement in very kind of some symbolic way, as transformation of the spectator who becomes part of the artwork was essential part. And also for the Soviet reality, where this total the distance and respectfulness to the artworks was necessary always. Here, when the artist, when the spectator even couldn't enter the space, not stepping on the artwork, it also was kind of psychological challenge for the spectators of the exhibition. This work has been reconstructed a year ago, and it was in Māris Ārgalis Memorial Exhibition, which also held the title of this work. The title of the work is Milky Way, and also from the title we see that there's these two meanings of the work, like this Milky Way as a stellar constellation and Milky Way as which has this transformative aspect. And here you see that this installation is completely different, also because the situation and also the space is different. Here it became not the entrance work or introduction work, but the very central work of this huge and very intensive retrospective work, and it was surrounded by wooden kind of fence, where the works of the period of the 90s were placed, and these were works of again this very complex history of artists. In 90s, Ārgalis spent several years in prison, where he kept on his artist function. So he portrayed his other members of the other prisoners, and here it's really like this symbolic feature of the work, and also like the end or the symbolic summing up of his creative and physical life became as a central concept of the work. And this is an interesting case where the same work, of course, after with the reconstruction, how the narrative or the conceptual meaning can change, or how wide it can be with the same work. So I'll try to very quickly to go through two other ways. Adaptation in the interpretation, which is again very very classical problem of, or the situation how to solve this wish to exhibit something which is lost. And this is work by Jānis Krievs, not just by him, but of course there were also a lot of collaborators. And here we can see this another interesting aspect of kinetic art, which sometimes could also be used as really representative feature of. Here we can see even in the very even like here it is like a landmark of all the city space, and it was Riga Central Railway Station clock tower with multiple program light system, which was made in the 1980s, and it's considered with the situation when in Moscow there were Olympic Games, and Riga as a city wanted to show its modernization, and in that time it used kinetics as well, light kinetics. Interesting that it was, you see that this most important part was this light system, which was actually more than 200 light programs, which were not just decorative, but also functional thing, because each program lasted 60 seconds, and so it was actually functioning as a clock. And of course, the scale and also the fact that the work was finished its functionality like 5 years after its installing, couldn't allow us to show it in artwork in the exhibition context. And maybe I'll just come here. But it shows 3 different ways how we managed to show still this work in the exhibition venues. The first one was when we used the original model of the clock, and later it was using more the architectural parts of the physical exhibition space, and the technological adaptation was such that it was now made using computer programs, which of course was the most common way. And also I think it's an interesting example showing how this kinetic art can be revived using the actual technologies. Of course it would be strange to use these cybernetical solutions which were extremely complex in the 80s, but are archaic or anachronic today. And just the very last, very quickly, step, I'm talking about these are kinetic works created today, but actually as ideas or visions, they origin from the 70s and 80s. And this is case of Artūrs Riņķis works. Also he developed very original a kind of subgenre of kinetic art, which we call kinetic paintings. And in the 80s, when he he's still totally into this art, but quite often these were either too complicated solutions, and he had really like visionary mind, or physically it was not possible, as it was just his own again hobby. He did these works in his spare time, and so from the 80s there existed just these sketches. In some cases, something also what he called technical passports, where he fixed very very precisely how the artwork should be made, also mentioning dimensions, materials, idea, and other details. But as real objects, they existed, you see, from the dates only in the last years. And in some cases, these are also like objects which are a bit deviating from the original idea, but still it's yeah, on one hand very untypical example, but on the other hand it also shows this dynamics of kinetic art which was not institutionally supported, and then couldn't, back then in the 70s, 80s, it couldn't always be made, and it remained just visions. Here, just a few more slides from how they are looking now. So the very last way, the restoration, which is I very hope that yeah, the slide is not in that quality, but I very hope that several of you have already seen this exhibition, and those who not yet will see it very soon. This is the exhibition titled Archaeology of Kinetics, which started with two restored kinetic artworks, which is very exceptional in Latvian kinetic art history. And but in fact, and Ieva Alksne will tell a bit about it much more, that as restoring the kinetic artwork, which is like a part of this contemporary art work context, it includes so many steps that it's also these 5 ways I was sketching. They are also part of restoration, and yeah, therefore I will give floor to Ieva Alksne.